Oh, hi there. Cello. Hey now. Hola. And ba weep grana weep ninny bong. However you want to say it. Welcome to that Kev1 show. Hey guys, my guest today is an artist whose work you've knowingly touched your lives directly or indirectly, simply because you might not have knew his name behind the words you just read or game you just played, or whose hard work may have added a sparkle to your day, being the happiest place on earth, making Disneyland run a little smoother at the time. He's a video game and board games designer, creative director, author, and very importantly, father, and former Disney Imagineer. Oh, Captain, my Captain, Scott Rogers, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here, Kevin. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, man. And thank you so much for being here again. But Scott, you're in the heart of Hollywood, where the world's been watching the horrific tragedy, so much fire and devastation. So first off, are you and your family and most, people in your inner circle safe?
Yeah, we are, fortunately. We were close to one of the fires, the Kenneth fire, if you've been following the different fires. And we had a few days where we had to pack up our precious belongings and get them in our car and just be ready in case the wind shifted, because we had some very strong winds blowing, and there was a concern that if they shifted direction, the flames would spread. But fortunately, that did not happen. And I consider ourselves very lucky.
Wow, yeah.
I have a lot of friends that were affected more than I was. They evacuated or in one case lost their homes and possessions completely. So I'm thankful that we were safe and it wasn't as bad this time. We've had other ones in the past where the fire was blocks away, but this time it wasn't as bad as that.
Oh, I'm glad you're at least, it seems weird to use the word fortunate, but, fortunate enough for that, in your own personal situation. Yeah. It's just wild. It makes it on so many levels. It puts so many things in perspective. It's like, when you say, there's obvious possessions that you want to cherish, but there's just little things, movie tickets you save from a date, or, there's little things you just didn't want to get rid of. And it's just, man, in a blink of an eye, you might have to leave with handfuls of this or that, or might not even be able to be in the area, and your stuff's all gone. It's just really it's almost unfathomable, It's
well, you just have to, realize that they're possessions, they're not people. Yeah. And so the most important things to get out are the family members and the pets. Yeah. And then after that, then you start prioritizing, photographs, that you can't replicate, or paintings, or artwork, or, whatever. There's a little bit of good that comes out of this, which is it gets you to prioritize. And so, I'm looking at the things that are around me, and I'm like, do I really need this? I probably don't.
Yeah.
I should probably either sell them or give them away to friends or donate or whatever. And that way, next time it's not so much a mad scramble for things, but it's more like, we have a few things that might be special, but everything else can kind of burn. And you just get that mindset of like, what can you live without, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you also need to document it, because insurance and all that, right? So I have spent every time we have one of these big fires, I kind of run around the house taking photographs and videos of our possessions, just to make sure that we have proof for the insurance company, just in case it burns down.
That is just, oh. Huh. I wouldn't call myself a hoarder, but I'm definitely like a collector. Like I'm an OG comic geek. Yeah. I'd want to get my Back to the Future Part 3 signed poster, but I could live without it. Like, you know what I mean? And, all those Superpowers collection backboards from the action figures from when I was 10, I'd want them, but
Yeah, it's exactly. I'm the same way. I'm a collector of toys and comic books and artwork, original comic artwork and comics books, and I'm like, what do I save? And I have a few things that are earmarked, to rescue. or that come with me, but in numerically, it's
2%
of all the things that I have. So but they're they're just things, and you get to a point in your life also as you get older. I'm a little older now, and I'm like, how many versions of Batman action figures do I need? I really only need one or two. You could keep that Captain Action or Mego that you started with, and you can hang on to that Hot Toys or Mezco figure that you got recently and go, I really like this one. But other than that, the rest of them are like, they're not as important.
Huh. So do you know exactly what you would grab? I mean, besides all the essentials, the family life. So, what are the things that you would care to share, at least? That you'd want to grab in a moment's notice, like some of this stuff.
So I have a carded Boba Fett figure, and so that's coming with. Partially, now it's funny because part of the motivation of rescuing these things is thinking about, well, if I get wiped out, I'm going to need some money to survive. And so you're like, well, maybe these are things I could sell and kind of help me get back on my feet. Another thing is I own what I believe is Jim Lee's first convention sketch.
Wow. What's that of? Is it Wolverine or is it Gambit or is it someone else?
No. It's funny. I always end up commissioning the wrong character. I should have commissioned a Batman because that's usually what I get from people. But at the time, he was an artist on Alpha Flight, and I loved the John Byrne Alpha Flight. And so, he came after Byrne left, and by that point, Guardian Vindicator, who was my favorite character from the book, was long dead, and I never got to see a Jim Lee version of Vindicator. So when I met him in, I think this was like 84, 85, somewhere around there, at Comic-Con, and it was like the first day of the show. And I said, hey, your stuff looks really good, and I really have been enjoying your art in Alpha Flight. Could you do a Guardian for me? And he's like, sure, I'd be happy to. I never got to draw a Guardian, and so it took the whole weekend. He was wanted to make sure he got it right. And he even wrote on it, thanks for your patience, which is funny. But I think based on the timeline I've gone back to kind of see, was this his first drawing, and it was his first show, and it was I was the first guy there to get a commission, so I think that's his first commission.
Have you documented this around the actual item, like framed, written in like a
no, to be honest, it's still like in I have like a plastic sheath of drawings that are I
like a binder or
not even a binder, it's like one of those portfolio things. So I grabbed that, and that has like a lot of. It also has a Mike Mignola Batman and Joker. It has Kevin McGuire. I had Green Lantern and Batman yelling at each other. I have what else? Ron Friz Hobgoblin, because that's one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. Things like that, and then plus some signed photographs. I have something signed by Bob Kane and something signed by Adam West, and those kind of things.
Oh wow, very cool. Oh man, I love comic art. Are you like me, where you can just envision how they would draw something? Like I used to, like as a kid, like you'd fall in love with a comic artist, and you're like, God, Eric Larson, he draws Spider-Man so well at the time. I need to see him draw the X-Men. You see him draw Wolverine and Punisher, and I just. It's like,
I mean, that's what's fun about doing those sketches. I haven't done it in a while, but in the early to mid 80s. So I grew up in San Diego, and I used to go to Comic-Con every year. And I've been to most of them, barring, COVID, and then when the years that my kids were born. So I missed maybe 5 shows out of the, 50 plus years history that it's had. And in the 80s, that was my thing. Because I wasn't really a rich kid, but I had enough from either odd jobs or whatever to save up. Like I knew to save up for Comic-Con, and so usually I'd have like at first I had like $20, which could get you a big stack of comic
back
books
then,
at Comic-Con.
yeah,
and lunch and that. But as I got older, I realized I had to save up, so I would spend the year kind of saving so I could have like $500 or, God forbid, $1,000, to go spend on things. And so, you go there and it's like $20 a sketch from all these different artists. And so I would commission them to do sketches for me. But I would also go around and just hang out with them and talk to them and become friendly with them, because that's what I thought I was going to do for a living, was do comic books. But I talked to enough of them. I talked to guys like John Romita and Jack Kirby and Carl Barks, these masters of...
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah, right?
Wow.
It was amazing. That early days, you could just walk right up to them and say, hey, how's it going?
I can't imagine that. Especially Jack Kirby, wow.
Yeah, well, Kirby was scary. He was...
Oh, really?
He was he had like big bushy eyebrows and he smoked. And,
like his drawings. I'm almost imagining Granny Goodness from Apocalypse when you say that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely similar to what he's like. And so he was a little intimidating. But guys like John Romita, I mean, the Romita family, I was like a 15-year-old kid, and they just said, why don't you just hang out with us for the day?
Wow.
And so I just hung out with him and watched him draw commissions, and he was working on, I forget what it was, some Marvel book at the time. And John Romita Jr. was there, and he was hanging out, and his wife was there. And they were just very welcoming and friendly, and it was a great experience for me. But the whole time, John Romita was like, don't work in comics, kid. They don't pay you well, and they steal your, you don't get your art back. And it was like, I heard this from all these professionals, and they scared me off from the industry.
That's kind of great in a way. Wow, In
a way, it definitely moved me in another direction, and that was film. I thought when I was in high school and graduating high school, I thought I would, and went into college, I thought I would work in the film industry, and that changed too. I ended up not. I ended up working in video games.
And it's all synergistic too. So that they all just go hand in hand, which is great. I'm just imagining you behind the scenes at the booth, like watching the Romita table while they go to the bathroom or something like that. Like, he'll be right back.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah, make sure that nobody steals anything. I did that for many different artists over the years. We'd hang out and I'd be like, if you want to go get some nachos or go to the bathroom or something, go ahead and I'll cover for you.
So when you say you almost got into comics, would you write and draw? What would you have done?
I always thought I'd be an artist, but I realized I would take my art around to these artists, and they would be like, work on your anatomy and work on your perspective and this and that. And I got to an age where, I don't know, I was probably around 17 or 18 years old, where I realized that I would never be as good an artist as the guys that I saw. This is right when the guys that eventually became like the image artists, like, most of them, like I'd never be a McFarlane or Jim Lee or anyone like that. I didn't have the talent and I didn't have a definitive skill. And I like drawing, but I wasn't like passionate about it. Like I wasn't doing it every second of my day. I have a daughter who is, she's in her early 20s, and she's an illustrator. And she draws, like, ever since she was a little kid, she would just draw every day, and she's good. And I look at her, and I look at them, and I say, that's what it really takes to do that. If you're going to be a professional, you need to just do it every day. And I didn't, but I still wanted to be creative, and I still had creative ideas. So I thought then, well, maybe I'd be a screenwriter. And so that's what I ended up studying. I studied art at first in school, and then I switched over to the film department and studied screenwriting.
Oh man! And what are some of the scripts you're most proud of that you got in your library of scripts?
That I wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing ever got published. Nothing ever got made.
But do you have a stack of like these are the top 3? Because I have so many scripts I keep working on, and then I don't complete. You're spinning your plates. It's kind of the bane of being creative.
Well, I kind of when I so I graduated college, and I thought I was going to intern. My dad taught in San Diego at San Diego State and UCSD, and one of his students was Kathleen Kennedy.
Back to the Future and so many things. Yeah.
Right. And so years later, I guess they had kept in touch or something, and my dad is like, "Hey, I have an opportunity for you. You should check it out." And it was to be an intern at Amblin.
Wow.
And work for, I guess, Kathleen Kennedy. And so I went on the interview, and I kind of got through the interview, like, 3 stage. I was on the 3rd stage of the interviews. And they were working on Jurassic Park at the time.
Wow.
And there was a big hurricane, and it wiped out the sets of Jurassic Park.
Wow.
And so I got a phone call from Amblin, and they said, sorry, but we're not going to offer the internship this year because we have to rebuild the sets, and we have to use the money for that to rebuild. And so sorry, we can't hire you. And so I jokingly say it took an act of God to keep me out of the film industry.
So then you just X'd out from then. You didn't go, okay, maybe New Line or Miramax, or it's like, no.
No, I didn't even do that. I had an internship at Fox. And I was working on a low budget TV show there, and I graduated, and I was looking for work, and I was working at this animation house, but they were doing colorization. This was like at the height of all that, when that was popular. This is the mid '90s, and I didn't like it. Partially because I had a lot of respect for film, and I'm like, colorization is kind of gross. And I was sitting in a coffee shop. I got laid off at Christmas because that's what they do in the animation industry. That's a tradition.
Yeah.
And so I was unemployed, and I was drawing in this coffee house. And a friend of mine, I used to work on the comic page of one of the college newspapers. And so the fellow cartoonist that I knew, his name's Stu, he came in and he's like, "Hey, Scott, you know how to draw, right?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm drawing right now." And he said, "Do you know how to draw on a computer?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Do you know how to draw, with a computer?" And I'm like, "Well, I know, Photoshop and Mac Paint or things like that." And he says, "Yeah, those aren't what we use on where I work. We use PC." And I'm like, "Oh, I've always done Mac." And he said, "Well, look, why don't you do this? You're out of work. Let me give you the keys to my apartment. You can come for the next 2 weeks. You can learn these programs called Deluxe Paint and Deluxe Animation. And once you teach yourself how to do those, create some artwork and then bring it in, and you can have an interview." I'm like, "That's a great deal. Sure, I'll take you up on that."
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's
very generous, right?
Yeah. And was it fairly intuitive to learn, or at least for you, or?
No, I mean, it was those programs were pretty easy, and they were fun. And I'd never done pixel art before, really. I mean, I had drawn stuff, but it was never like at that level of pixel by pixel. So I learned how to do that, and I animated some things, and I drew some things. And I went on the interview, and I talked to the guys there, and they're like, "Well, we like you, Scott, and we like your art. You seem like a nice guy." And they were working on some really cool looking games. They just shipped like their first big title. And they said, "But unfortunately, we just gave that job away to somebody else." And I'm like, "Okay, well, that's fine. Good luck with your company." And we parted ways. And it turns out that little company turned into Blizzard Games.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so if I had been hired by Blizzard, I would have been like their 16th employee or something like that.
Oh my God! Jurassic Park, Blizzard. Okay, what next?
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Still got more of those. There's a couple more of those in my career.
It's like you have a time traveling enemy that's kind of just like, you know what?
Yeah, my early career is a lot of near misses, but that's okay. It pushes you in different directions, right? It's
you're meant to be.
Yeah, whether you call it fate or you call it destiny, or you just say that's just dumb luck, So I actually used the art that I created from that experience to get a job at another company. So I worked there for a while, and then and it transitioned to, I ended up helping start a studio for Sony down in San Diego, which eventually became Sony Online Entertainment, kind of a big company. They did a lot of early MMOs and things like that. And the fellow who ran it, his name was John, and he was always talking about, let's do this fantasy game. And we were doing sports games at the time, and I don't like sports.
Oh, same.
I was like, yeah, and I'm like, I don't want to keep working on sports games. When are we going to make this fantasy game? We keep talking about it. John goes, well, the technology isn't there yet, probably another 5 years. And I said, I cannot wait 5 years. I cannot make sports games for the next 5 years. That will drive me insane. So I left. And then, of course, that fantasy game that John and the rest of those guys made was EverQuest. So another near miss in my career. Yeah. These were all things that if it had happened, my career would have been very different. Right now, 3-4 times. Either being a comic artist or a film, PA or something at Amblin, or the artist at Blizzard, right? So anyway, so I ended up getting a job at in San Luis Obispo, and there were three. Actually, at one point there were 3 video game companies in San Luis Obispo, which is kind of hard to believe if you've been up there. It's this very charming little college town in the middle of Central California, and so I was working at this one company, and the guy who owned he was an investor in this company called Alexandria, but he also had another company that he invested in, and they were a bunch of artists from LA who had done early CGI stuff. They had done like the Coca-Cola Bears and things like that.
Oh, hell yeah.
If you remember those.
Oh, yeah. I think they're still around marketing, I feel like, but maybe they're being phased out a bit, but yeah.
Yeah. But that was like real early,
90s?
Like mid-90s, somewhere around there. And so these guys came up to San Luis Obispo to start this company, but they really didn't know how to design games. They knew how to make really great art, but they didn't really have programmers or anything like that. And so they kind of said, all right, let's team up. Let's have this new company in Alexandria, and we'll have staff from Alexandria come over. Well, around this time, I was doing art for Alexandria on 16-bit games. So this is, SNES, Genesis era.
Yeah.
And
kind of Sonic level, Sonic.
Totally Sonic, and all Donkey Kong Country had just come out, and everybody's like, holy shit,
That was
3D.
such a huge jump step forward. I remember because I had NES as a game. My first game system was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt, and all that, and little Castlevania.
Yeah.
And so when Sega came around, it was like, whoa! It was like kind of like seeing Jim Lee and kind of the image artists out of nowhere. You saw kind of like other cutesy art. Like, whoa, what is this? This is like 3D and essentially virtually. It felt like
for my money, the SNES is one of it's in my top 5 of game systems. It's just really, really great, and it was a big game changer, particularly for us working on stuff. But I realized as I was working on these kind of games, I just didn't really have the aptitude for like creating really great art. Again, I was like, well, I'm good. I'm good enough to get jobs, but I'm not great, right? And it's not fun to making pixel art. I find is very laborious. It's not like picking up a pencil and just drawing.
How do you do it exactly? Is it just putting in like zeros and ones, or is it like little dots?
There's a graphic interface, so you've got a mouse, and you're kind of grabbing colors from a palette, and you're putting at this stage you have kind of a grid of the size of the sprite, and so you're placing, you're essentially drawing like almost like a light bright, you're drawing by pixels, right?
Like a digital tattoo artist, kind of dot by dot.
Kind of, in a way. But it was, for me, I just didn't find it very artistic, and it wasn't very satisfying.
Okay.
And I tried to learn 3D because we saw it coming with Donkey Kong Country and all that. We're like, oh crap, we better learn how to do this. And I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It just was too much for me. And so one day I'm doing this work, and I'm not having a good time, and I hear the people next door, kind of the group of cubicles next to me, yucking it up, and I poke my head over the edge of the cubicle like a prairie dog, and I'm like, those guys are having way more fun making games than I have been. And I said, I marched over to them, and they were all a bunch of game designers. And, while I was there at that company, I was kind of looking at what the game designers were doing and going, this seems more in line with what I could do and what they're writing stories, and I know how to write stories, and they're coming up with ideas for games, and I've played a lot of games, and I have a lot of ideas, and they're drawing maps to illustrate the levels, and I'm like, I can draw a map, and drawing a map on paper is a lot easier than drawing it in computer at that time. So I went over there and I went to the head of the department, and I said, I think I'm better suited to be a game designer. How do I do that? And he said, all right, I'll cut you a deal. If you do my homework for me, essentially, like if you storyboard gameplay, and if you draw maps, and if you come up with, help me come up with ideas for things, I'll teach you, I'll teach you how to be a game designer. I'm like, deal. And this was the guy, his name is Bill. He was the lead designer on games like the Disney Aladdin and Disney Lion King and the Jungle Book and all those classics.
The ones that I saw on Genesis, or on different systems. Yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
they were great, right?
Aladdin throwing apples. Yeah, I remember.
Yep. Yeah. Really, really great game, right? Yeah. So he was a good mentor and taught me a lot. And then there came this point where that company that had the great 3D artists, they said, we need some help with game design, and so Bill went over there and looked at the guy, the creative lead's, his design what he called a design document, but it was like, it read like stereo instructions. It was like, it was arcane, it was big, a lot of lore, but not a lot of gameplay, right? So Bill was like, we got our work cut out for us. We got to make a game out of this. And so Bill went back to the company that I was working for and said, hey, I need some help. And Bill was like, Scott has been helping me on some stuff, so can I have Scott help me out? And they were like, sure. So I go over there and I spend time with the creative director and Bill and myself, and we spent a lot of nights hanging out and eating spaghetti and playing video games. And that game that we were working on eventually became, if you remember, Abe's Odyssey, the Oddworld game.
Oh, yeah.
For the PlayStation 1.
I remember the Oddworld, yeah. Was there more than one, or no?
There were 3 or 4 of them, I think. Yeah. But I worked on that game for like 3 or 4 months, like with pre-production and stuff. And so they were starting production, and at that time, they were starting to get a lot of press because they had a lot of beautiful art, and they were making cool 3D models and stuff like that. And the company that I worked for got jealous of all the attention. And so they were like, we want our employees back. And Oddworld was like, well, we need them to make our game. Don't deprive us of people now. That's not cool. So the story goes, they put everybody's name in a hat. And they were pulling him out and going, all right, what about Bill? Well, Bill's our lead designer. We need a lead designer. And they're like, okay, Bill's going to stay at Oddworld. And they got to my name, and they said, what about Scott? And Lauren, the fellow who ran Oddworld, said, well, Scott's helping us with some design work. And the guys at Alexandria were like, no, we need Scott because Scott knows how to run a program called the Babelizer. And the Babelizer, I don't know if you remember this at all, but it was it was essentially a tool that it turned like 256 color palette images into like 16-bit color. So essentially what you would do is you would pick the colors that you want in the palette, and then it would swap out all the other colors, so that way you could put them into like a SNES or something. And I just happened to have a good aptitude for this. Like I was able to do this really well. Just, I don't know what it was. I had some color theory sense or something. But that, according to Alexandria, that was like a super important part of their business. So I got pulled back to work for them. But then they made a bunch of bad business decisions and they went out of business. So I walked back over to Oddworld, which was right next door. And I said, hey, Lauren, I would love to keep working on Oddworld. I started it, helps you start it. And I really love what's going on. And I believe in this game. I think it's going to be big. I'd like to work on it. And he said, no, I have enough people. I don't need you. And so I kind of pulled the knife out of my back and I said, here you go, here's your knife back. And, and I went on to, Namco up in San Jose, where I got kind of worked not my first job, because I had a little in between job, but it was my first really big job as a game designer.
Wow. And what's some of the best things you did at Namco, would you say?
Oh, it was Pac-Man World for sure.
Oh.
That was a big game, a big hit. Sold several millions of copies, and there's a thing. I don't know. You remember the greatest hits? You know, the Sony greatest hits. Those kind of games.
They just re-released them, or they had a bunch on the.
No, it was usually a game that sold. You had to sell like at least 500,000 units to be a greatest hit. And I am proud to say that all 7 of the games that I essentially was like the creative lead on have become greatest hits.
Oh my God.
These are games like Pac-Man World, like Maximo, God of War. Now I wasn't the lead on God of War. I was on that one, and a few others as well. So I have a pretty good track record when it came to what they call AAA games.
I remember the font for greatest hits on the packaging and everything too for it. But you need to have something like that, like framed with your picture, you know, at your house.
Yeah, and, you know, there were some guys that worked I later worked in publishing at a place called THQ, and there were a few guys there that when their games became big, they would get like put the cover and a disc in a frame, and kind of put a little plaque on it. I always thought that was cool. I always wanted to do that, but I never did. So I have all the games, and they're just kind of sitting in my closet. But one day maybe I'll get them framed and show them off.
Yeah. You give a little nudge hint to the daughters to get you like a greatest hits, dad frame or something like that with that font, maybe. Greatest hits.
Yeah, no, they won't do that. They're too cheap.
No.
Well,
they're artistic. Maybe they'll design something for you, or maybe they have.
They'll make me some pottery or something like that. So like they make me coffee mugs and things like that. It's that's their current passion. Is my son and my daughter are throwing pottery and
cool.
Making all types of cool things.
That's so cool, man. Yeah. Yeah, so you're surrounded by art and everything. That's so cool, and you're multifaceted. And
everybody in my family has got some sort of talents. My wife is a good artist and a musician, and has a beautiful voice. My kids, they do theater and they sing and they dance, and they do. My daughter's an illustrator, and my son, like I said, is doing the pottery. And I have very talented people all around me.
So cool.
Yeah.
Oh. And is your brain always going? Because you have all these different artistic talents. Like not like unit per se, but like I'm always kind of creating my mind to a fault.
Yeah.
Like say I watch like a show that's comic book related at all, like anything, and every time I watch the next episode, I imagine the comic book cover for it. And stuff like that.
Cool. Yeah, you should draw that down, right?
I should. Yeah.
Collection
I'm not great at drawing though. Like I can envision it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could maybe do the layout for it and commission
really
somebody to make it. Or, something like that. There's plenty of artists that I'm sure would love to, have the work.
Yeah.
It's true. I am always thinking of my wife says, she's like, you're like a beaver and you're always gnawing on something, and the gnawing usually takes the form of, these days, a board game.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of different board game designs that I'm working on, and matter of fact, I'm kind of gearing up for. There's a big show in February called GAMA. It's the Game Association and Game and Manufacturers Association or something like that. And it's a place where all the publishers go to kind of talk to the folks from Target and Walmart and Books A Million and all the places that sell board games and mom and pop stores and things like that.
Yeah.
And but it's in the past few years, it's become all the designers are like, wait a second, here's a place where all the publishers are, and these are the people we're trying to sell games to. Let's go to this event and pitch them games. So I'm in the process. I'm starting to get my portfolio of games together. To then I'll reach out to a bunch of publishers and usually they're like, can we see the rules, or can we see a prototype or a video or something? So I've got about 38 days left to make all these things to get it ready for this big show. So in addition to my other obligations, and I'm also in between work, so I'm taking job interviews and work. I teach a class once a week at USC, so I'm busy, and of course I've got all these other things I need to finish up. So it's even
nonstop.
Like you said, there's always something going on.
Yeah, jeez. Ay. Huh. What would you say is the most by the book kind of assembly line easiest thing? Like USC, is it the closest thing to a day gig in a way? Or like, okay, that's done, or no, nothing?
Well, it is. Because I have to commute to the school, and I have to have a class ready, a lesson plan, and I have to, figure out what I'm going to be doing for the year. Essentially, I rewrote the syllabus just because I wanted to. It's a tabletop role-playing game class, and I wanted the students to experience different types of role-playing systems. So we're going to play the original Dungeons and Dragons. I'm going to have a roll-up. Characters and just go, like back in the old days, we used to just roll the dice once and you got stuck with, if you rolled a 9 or a 7, you're screwed, you're like, all right, I guess that guy's got a 7 strength. I guess he's not going to be a fighter, So I'm going to have them do that because I think it's going to be fun for them, and they'll be like surprised by it, right? Like it's kind of a nasty surprise, I guess. But then we're going to play a bunch of other games. We're going to play let's see, Paranoia, which is a really cool sci-fi game. Dread, which is a RPG that uses a Jenga tower as a you pull every time something bad happens, you pull the Jenga tile, and if the whole thing falls over, everybody dies. We're gonna play Monster of the Week, which is kind of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the game. And then we're gonna play. We're gonna make and play one-page RPGs. There's a game called Honey Heist where you're bears scheming to steal honey. And then finally we're going to play, there's a game called The Skeletons, which is got almost no dice or anything like that in it. It's all kind of improvisational storytelling, but you're like a bunch of skeletons that you're in a tomb or wherever. It's up to them to decide where this is. And then when like invaders kind of come in, you kind of animate yourselves kind of like those skeletons in the Ray Harryhausen, Jason and the Argonauts, and you go fight off the threat, and then once they're gone, you just kind of collapse back on the floor, and then you kind of continue the story. And so it's this very interesting kind of reverse. You're not the one going through a dungeon; you are the thing in the dungeon. And so, like, why are you there, and what's your story, and why, how did you die? Because you're a skeleton, and it's a really cool system. So like I said, I wanted to show them kind of the whole breadth of role playing, because these are almost all of them are game design students. And so, the thing that I want them to realize is that, even though they're there to study probably mostly video games, I'm like, look, you could make a career out of doing role playing games. This is something, it's not just for fun. It's something you could make a living at, So.
Man, you must be like a superhero god to them, though. They're just like really like enamored that you're like all the things you've done and everything. They're probably really excited about like God of War alone or anything like that. Or
I jokingly say I look good on paper, but I try. The way that I impress any student is just to show them that I'm passionate about games. I know a lot about games, and I want to expose them to a whole bunch of games and have them play and have it be. I'm the fun class. That's kind of my attitude towards it. Education should be fun. For me. That's the only way I really learned anything back when I was a kid. So I don't give tests. I don't have them make them write essays or anything like that. It's mostly projects and experiences.
It almost just sounds kind of like that kind of high a parent gets when they're showing their kids something they're passionate about. Like if you're showing, like if I showed, I don't have any kids, I have nephews, but showing kids Back to the Future for the first time, or your favorite kind of Ninja Turtles or Superpowers collection, and they're like, whoa, and seeing it through their eyes, but you get to do it for a living there, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
And in person, it's kind of like what you do with your video games and all your creations, but you're seeing it in person a bit. So
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've been fortunate, even though I've had all those crazy near misses, I've been fortunate to still have a lot of great opportunities, and I always try to work in something that I enjoy, and I can't. I'm at a point, fortunately, that my resume helps me get attention of people that I want to work with, So like I back in 2009, I gave a talk at a conference, and it was about level design in Disneyland, and that got the attention of the Disney Imagineers, and that's how I ended up getting a job with them, is that they were impressed with what I had to say, and they were like, this guy should be working for us. And so I did. I worked for them for 5 years.
Wow. That's wild. And now I think I saw right before we went into this, some of my crew was telling me about I should watch this Disney, because I guess it went to the public domain. Steamboat Willie, I did a horror film of, I guess. Or something.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's that. There's also a Winnie the Pooh one that
led to that. I guess. It's pretty wild.
It's crazy, right? I mean, it's not my thing, if I were going to do something with Steamboat Willie, I would, I'd do something different. But
did you have something in mind by chance through the years, or no, not really?
I mean, I'd make a board game or something, most likely, But I have a lot of other ideas right now that I'm cooking, like I said, there's always something I'm working on. So when I get some of those out of the way, then who knows? Who knows what's next? There's always something. You gotta keep busy, otherwise. Otherwise, if you're a creative person and you're not being creative, it's like death. You can't.
It's like I said. I said this on the last show. Like, there's that Russian proverb: "The shark that doesn't swim drowns." You just gotta.
Yep. Boom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I guess. I mean, sharks are. Hopefully, I'm nicer than a shark. But yeah, I get the idea. The idea of you have to keep. You want to. Unfortunately, David Lynch just passed away.
I didn't know that, but I kind of knew that because I saw, I was busy getting ready for today's show, and through social media, you can't escape social media no matter what,
Sure.
But I saw his face a couple times, but I didn't click on it. Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Twin Peaks and everything, his weather reports as of late, even what he was doing more recently, and oh.
Yeah. I mean, for me, he was definitely somebody that I looked up to in terms of a creative individual, because he was just very. I've been listening to a few interviews with him. Unfortunately, you don't really get to appreciate somebody until they've passed away, right? Which is kind of a bummer.
Often, yeah.
He was somebody that I would have loved to have met. There's still a few creative folk that I would love to meet and just shake their hand and go, thanks for making the thing that you made, because it affected me. For me, I was a big Twin Peaks fan, and I love some of his other movies. And
I think I'm gonna watch See Lost Highway again soon, because I haven't seen that. I mean, in years and years.
Yeah, it's good, right?
Yeah.
And so he was talking about his experience, and he was like, I wanted to lead a pure artistic life. He just wanted to be able to create, and I totally, that's the life I wanted. I just want to create. I jokingly say that now. I mean, really, my attention is with board games. That's like my current passion. It's been my passion for a while now. And I'm like, I want to go work for a board game company. I jokingly say, I want to run away and join the circus and make board games, for the rest of my life, because it's fun, it's satisfying. I get to, there's a lot of different aspects to it that, I can write, I can draw, I can come up with ideas, creative ideas, and I interact with people. You need people
what's so
to play
funny,
games.
they're kind of like, and you probably obviously have a better idea than I do about it. You're in it, you're the heart of it, but it seems like they have more of not a comeback, but kind of a comeback more than ever, because I remember in recent years, and I think that's picked up even more and more, like people are playing, they have board game nights, so I mean, it's not even like And then with technology, people want a little escape from it. Hey, come over and play board games. We're on board game night. And if we get hit with an EMP static pulse, there'll be board games.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, very true.
People will probably be fighting over it as money in the future, in the apocalyptic time.
That's right. Some people say that, if the apocalypse happened, they will become thespians who recreate Simpsons episodes. But I would probably be, the person with the cart full of board games. And I'm like, all right, the board game man has come to town.
It's not a jester. They're like the kingdom or whoever's ruling it because of whatever money would be then. Like, bring in the game master, and you come in with your cart.
That's right. I'd have to invest in a cloak or something.
Yeah, so your children are ready with weapons and axes and such.
Yeah, well, hopefully it won't get to that. Though,
in the near future.
I don't want an apocalypse.
Oh no, yeah. I feel like no one would want one. I hope. You know what I mean?
I think there's people that are excited about the idea, but I think
they don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, they would say, and they're like, oh, yeah.
They would get there. They'd be in their loincloth with a skull, in their crotch, and their tires for shoulder pads, and then they would realize,
oh, bathrooms, food, whatever.
Mistake. This is not the future I want.
That they don't have ice cream anymore. They're not just doing it on their couch in their studio apartment. Oh wait, there's fudge.
When I was a kid, I was a Boy Scout, and I very quickly learned, camping. We'd go camping and stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't like this. I want refrigeration, and I want air conditioning, and I want, I don't want to be out and sleep on the dirt. It's hard.
Being like an actor and everything. I told a lot of guests. or any listeners know this. I just knew I was an actor forever, before I even knew what the term was, I was method acting on the playground. So I just remember there was a certain time in teenage years when I'd go camping with my dad that, I was like, I hated camping. It was all right. I loved running in the forest and imagine I'm one of the aerial bots from Transformers or whatever, but I'd be daydreaming about Batman Returns from earlier that summer while I'm at the dock fishing. I'd want to be home watching Centurions or whatever was on, it's like, I'm missing out on this or that, and I get my exercise and everything, but I just remember, and then you're camping and it's like, what are we role playing that we're homeless? This is just kind of weird. It's like it's the year was 19 whatever, it's like, dude, why are we doing this? It's like,
right.
I know what camping is, and you do it X amount of years in your life, and the fourth year as a kid, you're like, I know what this is. I got this memory already, guys. I don't need to be cold and sleeping on rocks through my tent, whatever.
Yeah, I was a Boy Scout, and then I was Cub Scout, then I was in Weeblos, and then I was a Boy Scout, and when I was in Boy Scouts, I realized, I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to I'm tired of camping and all this, but B, I was like, I saw an out because, you can earn Eagle Scout, right, in Boy Scouts. And so I just powered my way through, and I earned my Eagle Scout badge when I was 13 years old because I was like, I just want to get the hell out of Scouts.
Oh my God. You became the ultimate scout. You became like a super soldier scout and got out of it.
Yeah, exactly. So I blasted through all the achievements, that you needed to earn. I'd go to these camps where I could earn 10 or 12 badges in one go. And then I was like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to be a scout anymore. My parents were like, don't you want to go on and do, Order of the Arrow or any of that? I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'd rather stay at home, read comic books, play video games.
And no offense to anyone out there who camps. It's all, I get it. It's cool, but it's just an opinion. I respect it and everything. I remember I was reading a comic book that we got from the store, a little turnaround. What do you call those things? The grocery. On the way to camping, Wallowa Lake or Wallowa Lake, where we were going every year, and which is cool and all, but and I'd be reading Sinister Six, and I'm really engrossed and loving this and everything. And then my dad was like, "You're missing the view," and it's like I want to be like, I know this view, I have it memorized. It's like, and no offense, but I looked and to use video game speak, it's kind of like. It was kind of like being in a simulation. It's like, I've been on this level. I know that.
Right.
Are we simulating times before people lived in houses? What is this? Hardlight hologram simulator? What's going on? It's
there's a lot of things that you get. I don't know about you, but I grew up in this transitional period, right? Like, I feel lucky that I was born when I was born because I grew up with like analog stuff, right? Like, tape recorders and bicycles and rotary phones and all, so I know all those things. And then when I was just young enough, I was teen when computers and video games and all that started. So I had this analog childhood with my Star Wars action figures. I'd play out in the dirt with them and stuff like that. And then very typical Gen X childhood, right? Where you'd go out in the morning, and then around dinner time, your parents would yell for you, and
streetlights come on. It's time to go home.
Exactly. Yeah, you go running home. And so, but then we got to this point where we're like, we don't want to go outside anymore. We want to just stay inside and play in television or ColecoVision or something like that. And so, I feel like my generation, probably your generation as well, it was adaptable. We can adapt to, we can still learn technology pretty well, and we can still.
Yeah, I remember having a pager, and I remember, at least I think the internet was good. Yeah, it's just crazy. Yeah, it's like, hopefully I'm young and vital forever, but it's like, I'm glad I was born when I was born, so.
Yeah, for sure.
So when people guess I'm way younger than I am, I don't correct them, but it's like, I'm glad, But yeah, I remember the Oregon Trail game, people dying of dysentery.
Sure, yeah, I mean, it's all fun again.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Teach about it in my classes, I'd have them play it, and, they'd all die and laugh, and I'm like, that's what it was like. This is what video games were like back then.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
Very, very simple but still good. Still educational and all that. There's a lot of good things in that Oregon Trail.
It just conjured up an image in my mind of when Dabney Coleman gets ran over by that big giant die in what was that video game or the movie Cloak and Dagger? Remember? Did you ever see that? So good.
Yep, I remember that.
I might rewatch that again tonight if it's streaming anywhere. Who knows?
I'm sure it's somewhere.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, it was a good. I was fortunate. I had a good childhood. I had a good adolescence. I had a good time in college. I had a good time working in video games. I had a good time mostly working at Disney. I had a good time teaching. It's you gotta have a positive attitude, and you have to pursue your interests. I think. I mean, that's really what's kept me going, is just I find new interests, and I pursue them and try to master them, and then adds it to kind of, I'm a collector. I'm a collector of skills or something. Maybe that's my old D&D or Boy Scout mentality, right? It's like you start with a few skills and you learn new ones.
You're a man at arms of skills. That's very cool, man. I mean, what's the expression? You do what you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. And you're
right. Yeah, and it's very true.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome, bro. Well, are there any projects out there that you'd want more of a spotlight on that people might not know that you were a part of, or just might not know of?
I mean, like I said, I've been making some board games. There's a few, like I said, there's a few that I'm taking with me to this show Gamma. To try to sell, So one of them is, over the past year, I had cancer, and I had to recover. I had to take good chemo and recover from that, and then it was Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer.
Oh yeah.
So in order to kind of take care of that, I got a bone marrow transplant, which essentially means that they burnt out my immune system with super heavy chemotherapy, and then they injected me back with my little baby stem cells, and they all went back into my bones and regrew my immune system. So I now have the immune system of a 1-year-old in a 56-year-old body.
Wow.
And I have to get all the shots that I had when I was a kid again, because that was all part of what got burnt out when they did the chemo. So I've been recovering from that. So as I was recovering from that, I was like, I need something to do. I was on disability, and I wasn't working like my video game job, and I wasn't teaching. So I was like, all right, I'll make a board game. So I went on Facebook and I said, all right, I'm going to make a game It's gonna have a ghost in it, and it's gonna have dice. I don't know what the game is yet, but who wants to buy a copy? I'll pre-sell it. And so I had like 10 people say, sure, I'll spend, $60 plus shipping for whatever this game is. So I'm like, great. So I made this game. I cranked out the design, and then I manufactured it in my house, and I got some parts from some other game publisher or printers, and I put it together, and I sent it off to the people who bought it, and I was like, wow, that was really fun. I'm going to do that again. So this time I went online and I said, all right, I'm going to make this game, and it has I don't know what it is, but it's going to have a wind-up dinosaur as one of the pieces. And I said, who's interested in that? And so this time I got 30 people to go, hey, we sure, we'll buy into that. And so I made this game, and it's essentially, I don't know if you know the game Acquire at all? Have you ever played that game?
That doesn't ring a bell. But...
Yeah, it's an older game by a fellow named Sid Saxon, who's a pretty famous game designer, board game designer. But it was like a game about you're buying hotels and trying to make them bigger and all that. And so as I was thinking about this wind-up monster, I'm like, well, it's a big kaiju. It could be a big like Godzilla. And I go, what do those Godzillas do? They knock over buildings. So I said, all right, how about we make a game where it knocks? So you have buildings made out of little cubes, and he will, you wind him up and you let him go, and then he might knock over your building. And then I was like, all right, well, why would you build a building? Oh, well, you're like a real estate mogul in Japan, and so you're building towers, and then you're charging rent for the people that stay in the towers. So if they stay up, you get rent, and then if they get knocked down, if you are smart enough, you will have bought insurance, and so the monster will knock over. You can also, on some turns, you can decide which way the monster goes, or kind of goes, and so you can commit insurance fraud by having the monster knock over your building, and you cash in your insurance policy, right? So I thought that was pretty funny, and so I built this game, and I call it. Oh no, there goes Tokyo is the name of the board game. So I made 30 copies of Oh no, there goes Tokyo, and I delivered them to their owners, and they all were very excited and sent me pictures of them playing it and stuff like that. So I'm like, this is kind of a fun game, and I think more people would want to play this. So that's one of the games that I'm bringing with me to try to sell. So hopefully, somebody will be interested in this crazy game about Godzilla monsters.
I think it's gonna. What's the dinosaur look like? Is it just like a generic Godzilla, or is it like extra horns?
It's like it's if you go to like the party store, and like I found like if you go to Target for like $5, $6, you can buy like 10 of these, right? They're very cheap.
Yeah, the little aisle with the $5. Yeah.
So I was doing the art for the prototype, and I kept drawing the monster with kind of this bored look on his face, like it's just another city to knock over, and and people were really responding. I chronicled this whole thing online, so if you go to my blog, which is called Mr. Boss's Design Lair, just put in like Mr. Boss. I think it's like .blogspot or /blogspot, whatever. Anyway, I chronicled making the whole game from like the idea, like, where did the idea come from? Well, I had this little wind-up guy, all the way to, pictures of people receiving the real copy of the game, right? Yeah. So if you're like someone who's interested in board game design and how games are made, this is I think it's a good little tutorial, to help people. So that's one of the things that I have with me. I'll be looking around, and I've got some other games. I have a superhero game I've been working on. I have a kind of a spooky card game that's like a seance. I have a game. What are some other games that I have looking around with me? List here in my notebook. I have one that's about cheese. You don't want to get stuck with the stinky cheese.
That's
I have one. I have one that I've been making. That's about. It's a game that combines farming with aerial combat.
Okay.
You're in you're
like a crop duster with food and
kind of yeah. You're a anthropomorphic fox. So imagine Robin Hood, from the Disney cartoon, and you're living in Central California, and it's the 1930s, and you have your biplane left over from World War I, and now you're bursting clouds in order to get water. You're seeding the clouds and then bursting them, and then you water your crops and you grow crops. But then there's a big county fair, so you might compete for the largest pumpkin or who has the best variety of crops, and then you also make recipes and you sell them in your little roadside stand and things like that. So it's this little.
What's that one called again? That one's
called Flying Fox Farms.
That's really cool. I could just see that being like in theaters, Yeah, it could be
a cool.
Yeah, Pixar might buy that even or something,
Yeah, maybe
really,
It's a bit like if you ever saw the Studio Ghibli, Porco Rosso, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that.
Oh, okay, that look. Okay,
Yeah. So again, it's something that I did the art for, and I put together, and the expectation is not to be the final look of it, like I'll I'm not bad drawing or putting together things in Photoshop, so my prototypes look nice, and so if you look on like my Facebook page or you go to that Mr. Boss, I often will show images of these things I'm working on. And so I've got these games. I got them under my arm. I'm gonna kind of make the rounds and talk to all the key players and say.
When you go to Gamma, is it like a schmoozy thing, 100%, or is it like a Shark Tank moments? Do you get private office boardroom meetings there if they like you or something?
It's a combination of all those things. Part of it is it's a conference, so they have talks and things about game design ideas, and it's a good way to network. But also, it's schmoozy. You go to the publishers and you say, hey, usually email. I'm going to email them ahead of time so they are ready for me. Yeah. And I would be like, hey, do you have 15 minutes? I've got these games. I'd be happy to show them to you. Let's chat. And so it's kind of usually you don't ever like sign something on the spot. That's like that that rarely happens. It's happened, but it rarely happens.
Cards will be in touch. We're really excited. You're probably
okay. Yeah. So you just want to meet these people, right? And kind of show them your things that you're working on and get them excited about them. And then hopefully it goes from there, right? So the intention is to reach out to enough people that get interest and see what happens.
Huh. Wow. Well, I'm sure you're gonna blow them away. That's in February, you said?
Yeah, end of February.
Very cool.
So it's coming up.
Excited for you, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. At the very least, it's in Louisville, Kentucky. I've never been, so I'm looking forward to just visiting a new place.
Yeah. Huh. Man. That's wild. Your son is. Oh man. Yeah. The future's bright for you, and it's already here. But man.
I hope so. Fingers crossed. Right?
If you had the power to do anything with any like kind of super IP out there, is there one that like you have a big passion for that you'd love to?
Yeah. There are three.
Oh yeah.
There are three. So I've made my fourth favorite, which was Alien. I did an Alien board game, and it was great, and it's still selling, and you can buy it on Amazon.
Oh, cool.
And I like it. I'm very proud of it. It turned out really good. The three IP that I always wanted to work on, and I've had opportunities to pitch for them, but they just, for one reason or another, didn't work out. And that is, I'd love to make a game based on Disneyland's Haunted Mansion. I would love to make a Star Wars game, particularly maybe something like The Mandalorian, or something like that. And I would love to make a Batman game based on the comic book.
Based on, a certain era, we're talking like Neil Adams or Jim Aparo looking, or just.
I have a really good idea for a game that covers the entire history of Batman. And you essentially play each era in the game, as Batman or some of the other characters. And you go through the Golden Age, and you go through the Silver Age, you go through the Bronze Age, and you go through the postmodern, and et cetera, and I'm very familiar with the IP, so all the game mechanics are catered around making you feel like Batman, and the adventures that he's had. You know, I kind of pick key adventures for the players to kind of replicate. I think it could be really cool. You know, particularly if you're a diehard Batman fan.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but I don't know. Who knows? You know, we live in the era where all your information's kind of out there. But yeah, my first password when passwords renew was Nightwing, you know, for email and stuff. And you had to have numbers and stuff like that. I was like, no one will care.
I was going to say, hopefully your password's
It's not that anymore. Yeah, it's not that anymore.
Yeah, that Nightwing comic, the one that not Tom King, the other Tom Taylor wrote. Yeah, that was really good.
Which one is that? When he became a cop or amnesia?
No, it was the one that he inherited all the money after Alfred died, and he was like, "I'm going to become a philanthropist." And all the bad guys were like, "We don't want you to, we don't want you to be a philanthropist. We're going to try and kill you." And it was just good. It was kind of a different story. You know, it focused still on Nightwing and his relationships with Batgirl and the other Robins, and I don't know, it just had really good art. It had a really good story. I think Dick Grayson is probably the best written character in comic books.
Yeah.
He's been the character's been very fortunate enough to have just super talented writers working on him, whether it's Marv Wolfman or Chuck Dixon or Denny O'Neil or Tom Taylor, any of those guys, right? Like,
yeah, at least he's really beloved. It feels like no one has had a mat on for him. Like, we're just gonna make his life beyond hell because this or that.
Well, except for Dan DiDio, who was the old editor of DC, and that guy was like, for some reason, he had it in for Nightwing, and he wanted to kill him. He tried to kill him several times.
Was this before the Jason Todd thing, or no? After Jason?
No. This is way after Jason Todd. Okay. This is just during. I don't know, maybe within the last 10 years or so.
And
it just made no sense. It was like, how can you not like this character? He's a legacy character. Robin is technically the third oldest major DC character. It's most people say, Batman and Robin. It's not just Batman. People know the character, and I don't know. I love the character. I think I've always loved Nightwing and Robin, and I've never had a problem with that idea of Batman having a kid sidekick. Yeah. I know some people kind of say, Batman should be a loner and all that, but I disagree.
That's one of the main reasons I didn't like, it's a controversial topic, hope I don't lose viewers, Dark Knight Rises, because I love the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight, and Nightfall is probably off the top of my head my favorite Batman story. It was so good reading it initially. And so I was like, oh man, I love the first two Nolan Bat films, it's going to be great. And then I just hated that one because Bruce Wayne quits because of heartbreak from the girl he's not even really with at the time. Man, you're the king of brooding, and you're gonna not work out anymore. And then the super brace and it was just come on.
I'm not a fan of the Nolan films.
Oh, at all? Oh, okay, I like the first two, but I hear you.
The first one I thought was a little boring, and the second one was fine. It's not. I've gotten to the point where. None of these movies feel like Batman movies to me. They're not. They're not representative of the Batman from the comics. The Batman
not 100%. They haven't done it yet. Yeah, I mean, I see it in it, but I'm kind of projecting Carl Jung into it. Like, okay, well, yeah, you have to you have to. I don't like that. I have to watch the Heath Ledger movie and or even like the Suicide Squad or something like that where Joker's in it, and I envision. Oh man, how cool would it be if we had a Neil Adams Joker or Brian Bolland Joker or something like that? I guess the closest thing was Jack Nicholson, maybe. I mean, a bit with the stylings, but not even.
And I don't think it aged well. There's
I'm not sure
the action isn't very good. The choreography of the action isn't very good in those Batman movies. So I feel like we still haven't really gotten Batman in live action.
Yeah, not pure for sure. Yeah.
I mean, he needs to be smart. He needs to be acrobatic. He needs to be, handsome. He needs to be, he's not a nerd like Michael Keaton. He's, all that stuff.
No, I hear you.
One day they'll get it. Maybe James Gunn will get it.
Yeah, he really knows how to make comic stuff. Yeah, I'm happy with Creature Commandos. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah,
that was great.
Yeah, I did. That was great. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how well he does with a character that doesn't swear. Right. Like that's my only thing is like, I don't need them. I don't need everybody to be like Guardian of the Galaxy or Suicide Squad or that. I mean, I love the representations. I love seeing characters like Mr. Polka Dot and King Shark and all that in there. They were really faithful to the comics, but I don't need all the blood and the gore, and I'm a bit old-fashioned when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I feel like he's probably gonna. Yeah, I mean, I got a feeling it's gonna be like the best it's been. It feels like for sure.
Yep. And Superman, I'm looking forward to.
I don't know if you'll have a problem with the. I don't know if I'd call it quote underoos and quote. The things on the outside. 'Cause that's to me as a kid that was never underwear. It's like the old muscle man outfit.
Yep.
And if anything, it's modesty. It's not underwear. It's I don't know extra protective modesty wear, so to speak. So you're not in tights. I don't know. It's weird to me.
I never even thought twice about it until the internet, and then people start to bitch about it, and I'm like, what do you, I don't
get it. It was just it was almost just the design of a superhero costume. Even like Hawkeye back in the day kind of had that, but it was all purple, if you noticed, and stuff like that.
It's just color to break up,
that and
color, right?
If anything, it's extra. Yeah, it's not underwear on the outside. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
Come on,
I'm all for the underwear.
It's just the classic costume. I remember when they had the Electric Superman red and blue. I'm like, you just knew it was going to go back to the OG costume.
Sure.
OG costume's OG costume.
Comics, right?
Yeah.
Being a comic fan means that you sometimes have to put up with nonsense for a while, but eventually it all straightens out and goes back to the way that it was again. It's happened a million times. It's happened with almost every character. Major character from Spider-Man to Hulk to Captain America to Batman to Superman to Flash, whatever, right? It always reverts back to the classic look, classic stories, classic characters, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's something greater about being stable. It's something, it's harkens more back to it being like from mythology, so to speak. You know what I mean? So,
for sure. Yeah, I mean those are modern myths. Those characters are Hercules's and Samson's and Achilles and all that, and I think that's part of what I always enjoyed as a fan was, learning the lore, kind of following along with the stories. You feel like, you kind of feel like you were part of it, like, oh, I was there. I was reading the comics off the stand when Hush was happening, or when Nightfall or, whatever, right? You can kind of go, I was there, I experienced it firsthand and felt you could feel the excitement for it. And, that's why it's so popular because, it just was like something new and different and exciting.
Yeah. Oh, my segue into that Christopher Nolan movie talk was because we're talking about Nightwing and it seemed like Batman he was broody because of the girl he lost that he wasn't really with anymore. And in the comics, he lost Jason Todd or Robin. He just got more hardcore. You know what I mean? He needed a Robin, so they're off the beaten path. I was going to ask you there, what's your favorite version of Nightwing? Like ponytail Nightwing, the first costume change?
Definitely not the ponytail.
Scott McDaniel maybe kind of era?
Yeah, I like Scott's stuff a lot. Yeah. I like the Marvel Man, early, even the disco.
He had a mullet? Oh, yeah. Somebody had a mullet, kind of, or
no? He had like that collar, the really high collar.
Oh yeah, okay, I guess.
New Teen Titans era. But I also like the classic Robin costume with the little underwear and the pixie boots. I think it's a cool look. I love Robin in the Golden Age. I just recently read. He had like he had his own book it was like Star Spangled Comics or something like that. This is like in the 40s, 50s, somewhere on there, probably the 40s. And, he had like, I don't know, like 20 or 30 issues. And some of them were really wild, it was just Robin all by himself. And it was like some sort of, he'd end up getting separated from Batman or like go and do something. Usually he was doing, I don't know, some sort of like charity work or something like that, and then he'd end up in trouble with, some local
bad guy.
Yeah, he never really fought like Two-Face or Joker or that on his own. Although I've always wanted to see that. I've always wanted to see Nightwing square off against Joker or Riddler or Two-Face or even Catwoman, and particularly Joker. And I'd love to see him say something like, "Look, man, I'm not scared of you. I've been kicking your ass since I was 8 years old." I'd love to see something that harkens back to that.
Wow, I've never had
story.
That. Yeah.
I recently was drawing some little cartoons that I posted on Instagram, and it was. Did you ever see the Teen Titans Go cartoon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. So it's a lot of fun, goofy versions of the characters. And
catchy song as well.
yeah, great song. So I was drawing, those versions of Robin and Cyborg and Starfire and Beast Boy and all that. And I was writing this little series of comics where it was Robin talking about some death trap that he had been in when he was a kid. And so it was like, there was this time where I was on this conveyor belt. And I was running towards this Joker-faced furnace. But fortunately, Batman grabbed some snake pellets from the Joker and threw it in the gears, and it saved me from that, right? And then it ends with Beast Boy walking up. He's listening in, and he's like, "Man, you had a fucked up childhood." and so I did a few of those, right? It was one of them was we're strapped to Two-Face's giant coin, and we're about to be flipped onto some spikes, and fortunately we reversed the polarity of our radios, and it flipped us on the right side. And Beast Boy comes in and goes, "Man, you had a fucked up childhood."
See, bro, if you send that to James Gunn, maybe that's your way into the new DC universe.
Yeah, maybe I'll be the new writer for Teen Titans or something.
It fit right in.
But yeah, it's those characters are fun. I was watching a whole bunch of those when I was sick. I was watching a bunch of those cartoons, and they're just really goofy and there's all types of silly things they come up with, Robin having little baby hands under his gloves.
Yeah.
It's stupid, but it's fun, right?
Yeah.
And it's comics. The best comic books are it's okay to be silly, and it's okay to have weird things like Batmite and whatever, all that crazy stuff.
And it's really good. It's kind of like chicken soup for the soul, because I remember you saying that. I was like, wow, I remember the sickest I've been. I had double pneumonia and thrush one time. Horrible. And I went to the hospital thinking it's really, really horrible flu, but I guess I gotta go, because there was a couple times where I was gonna drink water and I felt like my throat was closing up. I never had panic attacks, and I feel like, I'm guessing that's what it feels like, where you're like, your body feels like it's in shock, what's happening? And when I was just drinking water, I was like, okay, I gotta go to the hospital, I guess, instead of just trying to power through, And then they were like, they didn't know what was wrong. They had all these different tests, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's double pneumonia. And they're like, oh, you're staying the night. And then I stayed there 8 days. But I did watch Teen Titans. That's why I watched on Cartoon Network or Boomerang, because it was on. They had a whole marathon, so that kind of got me through the hospital stay.
Yeah, it's good therapy, right?
Yeah.
You laugh, you get to, they make fun jokes about DC Comics and
Waffles.
Other characters.
Little Bane pillow or something. You notice, you're like, whoa,
Yeah, it was good. And then they made the movie, and the movie was fun,
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, Rob wants a movie. And did you see the one where Teen Titans versus Teen Titans Go, I want to say?
Yep, that was fun, too.
I might have seen them all, yeah. There might be one I'm missing, but I don't know. I think I've seen them all.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
I think I like, up until the James Gunn stuff, I always thought that the animated DC stuff was way better than the live action stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's a popular consensus too. I feel like a lot of people feel that way. Like the DC rules in animation, and they drop the ball with the movies a bit.
Yep. Yeah, their movies and TV are not so great, but they're really good with the cartoons.
I mean, and I'm an OG comic fan where I used to go to the comic store, you'd have your own comic box, and you'd get a bunch, you'd go to the pizzeria before comics were cool, and quote, and I'd read them all. I'd read New X-Men by Grant Morrison, I'd read Nightwing with Chuck Dixon and probably Scott McDowell all the time. And I wasn't like, oh, DC versus Marvel. And it's just so funny when there's one year you go to Target, and I mean, there's there people in the general populace, I use this analogy with the Target towel, where people didn't know Iron Man. They just thought it's Iron Man is a marathon, or like Tough Mudder.
Sure.
And then the next year at Target, there's always Iron Man towels from Marvel. I'm like, oh, it's my favorite super. You didn't know the F that was,
Yeah.
First time I could shave, I shaved the Tony Stark goatee from Heroes Reborn. You guys didn't even know who that was.
I had the same experience when Batman, 1989 came out, because I was wearing, I was always wearing, like Batman T-shirts and stuff in college, and but nobody would say boo about it, right?
Yeah,
I'd wear the Bat logo or a picture of Batman or a Joker shirt or something like that, right? And then 89 rolls around and everyone's like, oh my God, where's this amazing shirt you're wearing? And I'm like, I've been wearing, these Batman shirts for 4 years. I've been in college. Nobody said shit.
Now I'm getting laid. Now I'm getting laid because of it instead of being made fun of.
Yeah, well, no, I never
Riddle
got
me
laid
this.
because of my comic book knowledge, unfortunately. But it's us nerds. That's why we went to comics and role-playing games and video games, because we couldn't get with the girls. You either were the jock and you were dating the cheerleaders or whatever. I grew up in essentially like John Hughes movies. That was those movies like Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller. That was like those are pretty accurate. They're a little hyper blown and all that, but for the most part, the way people dressed and the way people acted and all that, pretty similar to what I grew up with. So
very cool, man.
It was a good childhood, though.
Yeah, the Red Letter Times. Yeah, man. And you were saying you did. Yeah, you lived through it all. You had that big, almost first time you're almost famous from stuff, and 84 you said, and that's when Karate Kid came out, and then Back to the Future the next year.
Yeah,
and,
it was good times. Right?
Almost Jurassic Park in 92, and Blizzard.
Yeah.
Oh my,
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Well, it sounds like you're doing okay now, so.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Health-wise, I'm mostly okay. I have dealing with you know what a frozen shoulder is?
No. What is that? Just a.
It's just like it's the socket. Like there's a kind of a pouch that keeps everything together, and it just got inflamed, and so when I try to move my arm, it hurts, and I'm like, all right, well, what's the solution? And they're like, well, usually we just say it will resolve itself in 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
I'm like, that's not good. I don't want to be in pain for 2 to 3 years. That sucks, So I'm going to get a little physical therapy on it to try to
and maybe jacuzzi off the top of my head, and
I wish, not jacuzzi, but it's like there's a thing called a TENS unit. You just put it on your muscle, and it kind of stimulates your muscles while you're doing something else. And
maybe acupuncture. I'm just trying to think. I would go the naturopathic route up the wazoo just to see, because
I probably, I should probably
my whole opinion.
Sugar out of my diet, and I'm sure that's part of it because it's inflammation based, and so sometimes you get inflammation from sugars and
I'm keto. I've been keto for years. So I recommend that for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I would say about that is it's the best time ever to for when you're coming back on sugar, because people are like, what do you mean you're keto code? And I was like, no, there's keto pizza, there's keto cookies, there's keto everything nowadays, baby. So it's like,
yeah, it's not so bad.
Yeah, for real, man.
Yep. Anyway, so it's just one more thing to get through, and eventually I will. I've been through worse. So it's just it's life, man. It's just one thing after another. If it's not a fire, it's a sore shoulder. If it's not cancer, it's you're out of work. It's whatever.
Has it not?
So you just gotta roll with it.
Isn't it wild? It feels like we've been in season finale mode for a while. It's like not that I'm saying I want fluffer episodes, but when's this a standard episode?
Sure. Yeah, that'd be nice, right?
That really inspirational, like the sky's getting brighter, like first episode type vibe.
Yeah,
come on, let's go, guys.
I could use a break. Something. So.
Buffy has to go to college and see a nice bright sunrise before the big bad comes on some episodes, right? Jeez. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So how about yourself? What how are you doing with the fires? You're in the area, right?
Oh no, I'm in Portland, Oregon, born and raised. I lived in LA for about 5 years for acting, but and I used to see definitely not as bad as it is now, but there was fire season. I'd see the smoke over the hill a couple times, and there'd be ash on my windshield more than once. And, and with the earthquakes and all that, after a while, I was like, geez, are people supposed to live here in this technical desert?
Yeah. mean, you get used to it. You know, I grew up in Southern California, so earthquakes and fires. You know, you just go, well, it's going to happen every few years, and you just have to be prepared for it and not freak out. And you know, you get through it. It's just like I would much rather go through a fire or something like that than like a flood or a hurricane. Like a flood to me is the worst because everything not only gets destroyed, but then it gets all wet,
moldy,
and then you have to clean up. Yeah, you got to clean up all that crap, and you know, you don't want to go into the water because it's all polluted with, you know, dead animals and crap, garbage and whatnot, and sewage. And to me, that seems like a far worse thing to have to deal with than an earthquake. Earthquake, just stuff falls over and you put it back up again.
Yeah, and I was never there for a really bad one. There was a couple times where it shook, and I was like, "Whoa, is this going to end?" And then, you know, it's probably in reality probably a minute or 2 minutes or less, you know, but it just feels like forever. And then at some point you're like, "Whoa, is this going to stop?" You know. But yeah, I wasn't there for a giant earthquake, but yeah. And then, I mean, I saw coyotes walking down Toluca Lake after a while, after during fire season.
Yeah,
they need someplace. That was scary.
Right?
Yeah, because I used to live across from Warner Brothers in these apartments, and like,
where I used to work.
Oh, awesome. What's the mural on that? Because when I left town, there was like some Bruce Timm looking Batman art on it with a lot of the Animaniacs and stuff.
Yeah, I haven't been by there yet,
but I was left right by the water tower.
I know for a while, like there's that one big building that used to have like they paint like a big poster on it.
Yeah.
And they haven't had anything on that for a while. So,
wow.
You know, it's like maybe with the James Gunn stuff, we'll start seeing like Superman or something. But for a long time, it was just blank, and it was weird. It was like, what's the matter? You guys run out of movies to make? You know, what's going on?
Weird, yeah. They still have the big billboards, right? Like 3 on one side. Yeah. It was really cool driving by and seeing, like, I know you hate that film, but the Batman on the Batcycle blasting through it from Dark Knight. That has the posters. You get into the Bat meaning.
Yeah. But the movie just didn't feel like Batman to me. Same with the Patterson one, and none of them really like. Yeah,
I mean, I liked it better than I thought I would, and I wouldn't fault anyone for liking it. But yeah, I mean, I like that he's working with the cops more than ever before in it. But
the Commissioner Gordon in that was great.
Oh, that was great. Yeah. Oh yeah.
He was good. So I just didn't like the Riddler. He was kind of like a weird serial killer.
Yeah, it was Riddler. I didn't like the Riddler in it.
Yeah, it was not for me. But we'll see. Maybe the Brave and the Bold.
Did you like that's got to be good, especially with James Gunn. That's got to be good. I feel like,
so.
I love that. I love the comics run that it probably is based off. You know, where Batman and the flying car.
The Ninja Batman. So we'll see if that's in there. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's like we can hope. You know, it's funny because I'm like, I just want to see Batman like in the blue and gray costume on film, you know, that kind of Batman, and you know, like I said, I just want him to look and act like the character from the comics.
Batman, yeah.
You know, that's all I need, right?
All right, so here's an important question. In your mind, how does Batman sound? Does he sound like Conroy from the animated series? Does he just sound kind of slightly different than Bruce Wayne?
I kind of like, I think he sounds, as Bruce Wayne, I think he sounds like the guy from the animated series, right? Like, I think,
almost like a John Tesh kind of voice in a way.
Yeah. I think that now I'm blanking on the actor's name. That guy was great though. But that's, you know, I kind of envision him for Bruce Wayne. I think he did a really great Bruce Wayne. The Batman I really like is the one from Batman Brave and the Bold, Dietrich Bader.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Really good.
Interesting, because he kind of has like almost like a modern Adam West kind of in a way. Would you say?
A bit, yeah. I mean,
the vibe,
I like my Batman a little bit. You know, Batman's world is kind of weird and cheesy, you know. And you know, I like the era of, you know, giant typewriters and you know, working signs that are smoking and blowing smoke rings, and you know, all those Bill Finger gags and Dick Sprang are you know, from the 40s. So I like that series because it, you know, the character looked like that version, and he encountered a lot of bad guy. I love the villains. You know, I like some of my favorite Batman characters are like some of the obscure villains, like the Killer Moth and you know, characters like that. So
maybe we'll get him in the near future, and they'll probably have 2 versions of him, where the more silly version, and then he's the more, you know, more modern deadly version of that.
If he shows up in his costume from the comic, I'll lose my mind.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh my god, this would be so amazing.
I feel like with James Gunn, you have the best chance of that, in a way.
For sure, yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. Man, I'm glad you're safe from the fires and all that. And since you're there, in person, is there any place you would suggest people, to donate or anything? Because there's so much information out there, and, you don't want people...
Oh, man. I mean,
that's a tough question, probably, but...
There's a ton of... anywhere from, like, if you know somebody personally, like, if they have I have a friend who... his name is Javon Frazier. His family, his whole house burnt down. It's horrible. And he has a GoFundMe. So if, you want to contribute to that, that would be great. There's all types of charities, and just pick one, that you think would be good. And any help is better than no help at all, right?
Yeah. No, yeah. Yeah, it's just hard for me to pick a place, to tell people, because I, don't want,
Start with Javon's GoFundMe, and then look around, and there's the ones on Facebook, there's ones on, just all over online. Just put in, there's even the more traditional ones like, the Red Cross or the whatever, any
major kind of edit, Okay, yeah. All right. Well, hopefully.
But any help is good help. I had a GoFundMe when I was sick because the hospital bills were really expensive, and a lot of people showed up, and I kind of felt like, like at the end of It's a Wonderful Life, where everybody shows up and throws money in the basket. That's what I felt like. I was like, I didn't realize I had so many people that cared about me, and it was good. It was a very humbling and good experience for me.
Oh. Well, hopefully everything happens for a reason, and I'm glad you got that you're all better, and then that'll pour in your support, and then that, so you went.
Yeah, it was a bad time, but it was also a good time. It was good in that I just really saw all these people come, show up for me, right? And that was, like I said, it was very humbling.
Yeah. That's awesome, bro. Well, you've probably taken enough of your time tonight. Thanks so much for sharing your story. This positive, endearing spirit,
Thanks for being interested.
Oh yeah.
I like to share. I think I've had a pretty interesting life, and I hopefully, I've written some books on game design that maybe people might want to check out. There's one called Level Up, The Guide to Great Video Game Design, and that's on Amazon. The third edition just came out.
Oh, very cool.
And so if you have any interest in video games, how video games are made, or if you have an idea for a video game, I kind of walk you through how to make it how to create something that you can, use as a blueprint for making a video game, like a game design document, that kind of thing.
Oh, it's a Level Up.
Level Up. And then the other one that just also came out last year is kind of the tabletop equivalent to that, and that's called Your Turn, The Guide to Great Tabletop Game Design. And that one is similar but different from Level Up, because where Level Up, it talks about things like the history of games, and it talks about theory, and it talks about, technique and stuff like that. Your Turn does all that, but it also has games that I kind of walk you through. I kind of say, look, the best way to learn something is to copy, and it's okay to copy, if you're learning how to do something. And I said, let's make a game together. And so I kind of walk the reader through a game and give them the reason why I make the decisions I make and how to go about doing it, and even things like, let's make a board, let's make a card, let's, whatever. And there's like 6 different types of games that you can make in that. There's like a card game, a dice game, a party game, a abstract game, what's called a Euro game, and then a thematic game. And so when you're done, you'll have 6 original games that you've created, and then you can, go from there and change it even more, and maybe even find somebody to buy it. It's a lot. There's a lot of opportunity. You know, even if it's just like sharing something with your friends. You know, making a game. You know, and then you show up to a game night or a party or whatever, and you say, "Look, I made this thing. Let's play it together." You know.
Oh, man, that one's called Your Turn, right?
Yep, Your Turn. The Guide to Great Tabletop Game Design. It has a bright green cover. You can't miss it.
Okay, wow. I'm gonna check those out. Yeah. Man. Watch out for my game soon, and I'll be at Gamma one of these days next to you, but there'll be, of course, you'll know about it, because I will have told you about it, and there'll be a big thank you in the introduction to the game.
That's all I ask.
I couldn't have done this level up without the help of.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, that's what I'm most excited about. I'm once in a while I get an email from somebody, and they say, "Yeah, I've been reading your book, and I'm working now on, I created my first game, and here's some pictures of it, me and my family playing it." And it's great. It's like, that's what I want out of it.
Yeah, that alone is amazing and incredible, even if they didn't, get it published or whatever. That's, Oh.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if it exists, that's all that matters sometimes, right? It's like, and my older brother, he, doesn't make games. He's a medical practitioner, and but he read my book and got inspired and made a game. And I'm like, cool.
Is it medical based at all? Like
no, it's about wrestling.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. So, that kind of stuff, I am pleased to see people respond in that way. It's very satisfying.
Wow. You're laying the smackdown entertainment in a good way, across the board. Across the board, no pun intended.
Well, I'm going for my nerd EGOT, which is video games, tabletop games, virtual reality, theme parks, and then the last one I have to earn is role-playing games.
Oh my gosh!
So maybe I'll write a role-playing game, and then I'll get my EGOT, and then there'll be nobody there to give me the award because it doesn't exist. But in my head, I will have had it.
Well, I could play a character where I just present it to you if you want, so I can just I'd do that.
If I ever complete this. Yeah. Somebody wants to make
we'll rent out a stage and it could spread awareness for something. Yeah. Oh, very cool. All right, well, Scott, thanks again, man. Oh,
sure,
so awesome.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Brightening up the globe a little more in these trying times.
Trying my best, man. Trying my best.
Thanks for the escape, and as I've said on many a show, creating's the best way.
Yeah, I agree.
On and on and on.
It's what it keeps us going, right?
Yeah. We're going to the next level one way or another. So
it's good to contribute positive things to the world. I firmly believe that.
Oh man. Well, thanks again so much, and
thanks for talking with me.
Yeah,
it was great. I had a fun time.
Yeah, we'll be playing again in the near future, I'm sure.
For sure. There's plenty of other cool things to talk about.
Oh yeah, I'm going to a FanFest Comic-Con type thing. I think it's called FanFest. I got birthday tickets from a friend, so my birthday's this month, so yeah.
Well, happy birthday.
Oh, thanks,
Have
man.
a good time.
Well, I don't know who I'm going to dress as. I have a couple Riddler outfits I might wear, or
there you go.
Big Lebowski, or I might wear some that Kev One Show merch to promote the show. I don't know. I'm torn. So it's like,
well, do something every day, right?
Go 3 days in a row and.
Yeah, my daughter, we're talking about going to Comic-Con this year, and they're already like, "Oh, what am I going to dress up as each day?" And I'm like, "Let's just go and you don't need to dress up."
Yeah, it's true.
They're like, "Nope, you gotta it's just how you gotta do it." And it's funny because I've never dressed up for any of these things before.
You should do something really obscure or somewhat obscure, like Mothman or Killer Moth.
Killer Moth or something. Yeah, Killer Moth would be cool.
Yeah, the Condiment King or something.
I'd love to do like a vintage Batman, like a blue gray Batman costume.
Wait, which one? Which gray? Blue gray. Yeah.
Like the gray, sparing 1940s,
Oh yeah.
That look, right? With the short ears and the bat without the circle.
Oh, okay. See, I would want to be Batman from like the Superpowers collection era, where he's got the blue and gray, but the like yellow pellet belts and with the black on top of the by the eyes, kind of Adam Westish, but it was different, you know it.
Yeah, yeah, of course, Yeah, very familiar with
Ooh,
that.
or
That's a good one.
maybe Disco Nightwing or Oliver, Green Arrow, but Green Arrow with the cap and the feather and the.
Yeah, you gotta do Disco Nightwing, man. That's the one to do, right?
Yeah. Oh man, now I got some work to do. Great.
All right, that's good. It's good to keep busy.
Well, I'll post pics and we'll be in touch.
For sure. I'd love to see it.
Oh, thanks again, man.
Yeah, have a good one.
You too. Night.
Bye.
Oh, and there he is. Oh, the inspiring Scott Rogers. Man, check out all that stuff. Donate to his friends. I'll have to play that back to get the deets on that. But you know where to donate. That's one family in need. And I urge you to also, besides that, do your own research on some people may be personal to you, and vet out the charities. Like you said. And all, guys, as I mentioned, K-Day, my birthday is coming, and for you, dear listener, I want to thank you all on this K-Day weekend, my birthday weekend, for being here, and well, for being. You could be scrolling, binging, or streaming a plethora of media and a multiverse of choices, and I'm thankful you chose that Kev one. I hope you learned something, as I have from my growing collection of multifaceted guests as we drill forward as positronic supersonic tornadoes flexing on the night, peacocking past the haters, knowing the lovers are going to be louder. So listen to them. See you in the future. And as always, as I say, and I coined this phrase, live the love and love the life. What's better than your favorite talk show? Well, maybe homemade delicious food, cold beer, or a drink of your choosing in a comfortable atmosphere. Well, look no further than the Boulevard Tap House for the world-famous fish and chips, seafood, all-around delicious menu with pizza, all kinds of food, wings, steak bites, anything you can imagine when you want to watch the big game or catch some live jazz if you pick the right night. Open 7 days a week. Go to boulevardtaphouse.com right now. I like to go to their Terwilliger Curve location. That's the home location for their not only their fish and chips, and they knew that they always used to give me Caesar chicken salad and wine. They kind of made jokes and made fun of me of that. My favorite food there now might just be the brand new Mark Kevin. That's a margarita pizza named after me. Don't know if they did it because I'm Italian or what, but I had it, and it is delicious and, dare I say, nutritious. Anyway, friends, go on in, have a great time. When you're there, you truly are family. No cap. Enjoy the Boulevard Tap House today. Rep the brand that is behind-the-scenes film talk, positive vibes, and discovering what the human condition is all about as nonstop creativity guides us on and on and on with that Kev1 Show merchandise. Now for sale at thatkev1show.etsy.com. That Kev1 Show, spelled of course that, K-E-V number 1 N, show. Hey, you're a fan. You want to rep it. You know how to spell it. So get it today and glow with us. This portion of that Kev1 Show is supported by Bohemian Dream Gifts, made with organic and natural oils that nourish and hydrate your skin. Man, I don't know if it's the weather outside or the gym that was killing my skin, because my right elbow on the, it itched like the Dickens, like I was becoming like the lizard from Marvel Comics. I think it's that machine where you put your elbow in and do the lifts, for the bicep. But I was itching my skin like crazy during, I won't say who because I don't want them associated with rough skin, with one of our guests here in the near future here. But my right elbow was getting ashy and coming up, getting red and irritated. Anyway, I used some of the promotional cookie dough body oil from Bohemian Dream Gifts that they gave us, and my skin, I'm not kidding, came back. I can vouch for that one. The cookie dough oil body oil, the cookie dough body oil brought my skin back to life like an Evanescence song. I'm not kidding. My skin is smooth and happy again. 100%. You can buy cookie dough oil on Etsy at the Bohemian Dream Gifts shop. Check out their other stuff as well, but that's one that I swear by now. And as soon as my promotional one runs out, I'm going to order some myself. So go to Etsy and visit the Bohemian Dream Gifts shop today.